fast fashion is a response to the latest trends in an inexpensive way that companies do to rapidly produce what they see on the runway, designers see on the runway, in an inexpensive way, so the majority of the middle class can afford to be in fashion for a lower price. And I think, in my opinion, there's sort of a lot of pros and cons to that. There's a lot more cons than pros, but in terms of like society's push towards, I think, equality, there's a big pro to it because it means that people can feel sort of accepted in being like fashion trendy people. But there's a lot of cons because we are rapidly producing way too much for what we can handle, and really it shouldn't matter that much if you're wearing the most latest colour or the most latest hemline or collar line or even silhouette sleeve, just because it's been seen on the most popular Instagrammer model, and you want to sort of be accepted as being that.
Fast fashion, God, there's too much of it. That's the problem. You know, I mean, it comes and goes, and very, very quickly. I think it needs to be slowed down a bit. You know, because obviously people just go to Primark and buy what's there. You know, and throw it away. It's a bit of a shame. Yeah.
Do you think there is anything that could be done to sort of create less waste with fast fashion? Or is there something we could do here at CFM?
Make it more expensive.
Okay. Make it maybe what it's worth, actually, what it's worth.
Well, pay if you pay the workers the right price for them to be made, then they would be more expensive. Their people wouldn't buy so many of them, and then that would be fine, wouldn't it?
And it would give a
because clothes are so. Because when they opened Primark at one somewhere, the T-shirts were £2, so they reduced them to £1. You know, so it's actually clothes in charity shops are more expensive than clothes in Primark. Actually, the clothes in charity shops from Primark are more expensive than they are in Primark. And also, I think. Also, there's always been a thing about I have about Primark. Is that people don't respect the clothes; they just throw them on the floor, and they don't care about them. You go in there at the end of the day, everything's on the floor, and somebody actually made that thing, you know, with some sort of love and, you know, beautifully made and everything. I mean, people just don't care because it's so cheap. It's like food; you know, people throw it away because it's reasonably quite. Food is not expensive actually for them. Well, the problem is because fashion is like it is, it's sometimes very difficult to actually put anything, you know, because it moves in a way which is about, there's no guidelines, you see what I mean? It moves, you know, somebody thinks, oh, we do 60s, so we, you know, or we do 70s, or do, you know, there's no guidelines, right? And also, it's the only thing that eats itself, fashion. Yeah. It kind of eats itself, basically. And I think there's an element you could and also just look for different kinds, you look for, you know, fabrics which are more interesting, rather than keep doing always the same kind of fabrics. You only get clothes are made from fabrics, so therefore, without good fabrics, there can't be good clothes. So cheap fabrics make cheap clothes.
Yeah, and cheap clothes are more likely to be less sustainable and like actually sustainable, and will be thrown away, or will be, people don't have space to have things with holes, or even time anymore to sew a hole in their top. I mean, I remember like my grandma would never throw away a sock. It would be like
mend it.
You can mend it. And nowadays it's.
But you can't get the but unfortunately that that would be fine. But then socks are made in a particular way now. They're made with microfibers which you can't buy to mend them. See, that's the big problem there. And that's why a lot of people don't wear socks.
That's the solution. As a designer, would you use fur in your collection, and why?
Without a doubt, 100%. I just think no, without a doubt, yeah, I would. Mainly because it's actually not sustainable to have fake fur being used. People who make the fur are like basically dying from the chemicals used to soften and dye these fabrics, and it's worse for the environment because they're not biodegradable. They don't just sit in the ocean.
So yeah, why are you?
Well, I think the thing is really that it comes down to, for me, it's neither ethical to use fake fur. It's actually more ethical to use real fur. The animals that are being used for this kind of fur that is being made are animals solely bred for dyeing, essentially. And no, it's not ethical, and I'm never going to say killing things is ethical, but we don't really live in an ethical world, so therefore it's like, it doesn't make a difference if the canteen down here is still serving chicken and we're using plastic forks to eat our lunch. It means zero difference if like we're using real fur, and to be honest, real fur is more sustainable. So.
And explain to us how real fur is sustainable.
It's biodegradable. It goes away much like the rest of nature. It lasts longer and it costs more, so therefore I believe my kind of psychology, right, people look after it a lot more. It's like when you buy a vintage leather jacket that costs you £200-300, you're more likely to keep that leather jacket solely because you paid so much for it, opposed to going to Topshop or going to like Zara or Bershka and buying like a jacket for like £30 and then wanting to throw the jacket away. For me, there is like a kind of value to people paying a lot more money for things because it means people cherish things a lot more. It doesn't necessarily always work that way, but it is kind of like that kind of thing.
So I'm part of a recycling community called WRAP, which is not very far from where I live, which is very convenient. And it's open even on the weekends, and it's a place where you can donate, or you can even receive and get whatever you want, full of a lot of things that would be considered trash, but really is treasure, because you can, as an art student or even just a creative in general, you can find a lot of things that you could use. But whenever I have a project and I need some new supplies, I will go there and just have a rummage through what I can find. You won't always find what you want, because it's sort of like a treasure box. You don't know what you will find. But you will always find something better than what you're actually looking for, and it might even spark an idea and be like, oh, I could use this for this project and this part and this garment. And I've actually used it quite a lot in the past 2 years. All my projects had some sort of element of reusing someone else's rubbish, I guess, from WRAP. So I highly recommend, if you are a creative or like to use disregarded materials, to be a part of this community. So we went there to ask some questions to volunteers at WRAP, asking for their opinion on the waste of the fashion industry, and we were quite pleasantly surprised to find that they were very opinionated on it, and had a lot of ideas and solutions to what could be done.
So this is WRAP, that's Watford Recycling Arts Project. It's one of it's an informal network of scrap stores up and down the country. We talk to each other, but we all run on an individual basis. Well, it was created about over 20 years ago now, and for much the same reason that anybody wants to use up waste materials that they see. They see good stuff lying around and they think there must be a use for that. And if you gather it all in one place, it looks like this. from, we gather up stuff from commercial business ventures, clean industrial commercial byproduct, and we arrange it in this warehouse for on a membership scheme, so people pay a membership charge, and for us they only have to pay once. Other membership schemes run on a different basis, but they pay once for us, and then they can have everything more or less that they need for a year. And then we also have individual people's stashes, so if you've got to the point where you're giving up a craft, or you've had someone in the family die and they had a lot of craft materials or usable materials, we'll take it here and then make it available for somebody else to use.
When you finish this, it'll have glue on it, and you won't be able to use it again.
Well, we had a founder, we had a couple of founding members. Well, it actually started off with the Watford one. Actually started off with the Women's Centre. The Women's Centre started it off in somebody's garage. So they started gathering stuff, so they were very aware of it, and they wanted to use it as a craft material for an outfit that didn't have much funding. They didn't have much funding, so they wanted to reuse materials that it would save them money, basically, and give people an outfit that didn't have very much money, a set of materials that they could use with people coming in on a day-to-day basis. So that's how it started, and then it just grew and grew. So we. Well, this has always been a vast, buzzy repository of ideas. So basically, it's the idea that we are taking stuff from going straight to waste. We know we're not stopping it ever going to waste, because it will eventually, but we're slowing it down. It will have at least one use before it goes into recycling or rubbish, should I say, basically. And I think the whole idea is for it to be educational. So it's been kind of exponential insofar as it's passed on an awareness to all the youth groups that we work with. We do workshops. We pass on the notion of reusing materials, and I think over that 20-year period, it's become much more in the zeitgeist now. Because you see, the thing was, my generation was brought up by the war generation, and the war generation were told never to waste anything, and they were taught never to waste anything, and we were brought up by them. They were our parents, so we're kind of like the missing generation between the war generation and this current generation now, that, well, actually our grandchildren's generation, that are now becoming much more aware of the need to do that again.
Yeah.
There was kind of a 30 to 40 year period where people just got so profligate, and industry was geared up very much for mass production, and along with the mass production, a huge amount of waste. So we've managed to siphon off a very small amount of it, but it has been an educational amount. So it has helped to raise awareness of the issue, and just sort of keep it bubbling away there in the background, to the point now where, again, we're sort of incredibly relevant again now.
My opinion on fast fashion? Well, you've got to go look at me. I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. Everything you see is totally second-hand, you know what I mean? It's all pre-loved.
As is he.
Yeah, in a nutshell, I've got no time for it at all. It's the ruin of the world, you know. I should think they're in despair. I should think, because the sheer volume and the competition is horrendous, and the sheer quantity of designs we're getting here, there must be so many of them that are just doing it with no thought at all. Yeah, they're thrown together. A lot of the designs completely thrown together. But as I say, it's because of the pressure that they're under. I mean, you're some poor guy in South Korea or something, you get up every morning, you think to yourself, right, I've got another 1,000 designs to come up with today. You know? I mean, I'm only going by the sheer quantity of the stuff that we see here. And it's all the samples that are sent to the manufacturers. And they're swamped with it. They can't possibly give their full attention to everything that comes to them. I don't know what the solution is, but it's just overproduction as far as I can see.
And it puts a lot of strain on the countries that are, you know, pressured to produce it as well.
Yeah, and they've got to do it cheap, and the competition drives price down. And more than anything else, the chief factor in it is that competition is a great thing. We're all supposed to be keeping the prices down, all the rest of it like that. All the good reasons for having competition, but it generates masses of waste. Because if you've got choice, if you've got 10 different designs to choose from, 9 of them are going to go in the bin. You only need the one, so you're going to do that. I don't know what the solution is entirely, but you can see that this isn't it. Maybe. I mean, I'm no expert on fashion or anything like that, but as I say, my chief observation of it is the overconsumption. I mean, slow fashion, or no fashion, more of a solution. I mean, the key to a lot of it is the concept of glamour, which I have come to understand as you know you're glamorous when other people envy you. And that might be because of the exclusiveness of what you've got, or the apparent exclusiveness, or it might be down to the obvious amount of money that's gone into producing what you've got, one of those sort of things. But there's something there, and that presumably is something to do with insecurity. If you want people to envy you, then that's an affirmation somehow that you're okay and you're doing well. You know? And to a certain extent, fashion industry, I guess, subsists on glamour.
It feeds on that.
Yeah.
That want to be accepted.
Well, if you take glamour to be like my definition, then going for glamour means you're looking for insecurities, and the people out there who are insecure, they're your customer. They're the ones that you want to remind.
But
But maybe, there are people that think we can do that, so that everybody's wearing hemp clothing. There is a move, people who think making clothes out of fibres that are sustainable. So their thing is hemp. So they grow this product hemp, and it's with stinging nettles. You can get the fibres out of them, and you can weave with it and spin it. Yeah. Linen is, after all, is flax, isn't it? So they're trying to push for hemp as a crop that is sustainable. You can grow it, and it will decay. When you now fast fashion out of that, when you've finished with it, you put it in the bin. It goes to landfill. A few months later, you can plough it back into the ground and grow things out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's one of the answers. If you're going to, maybe you can have fast fashion, if at the end of the process it becomes a useful product. So they're selling you temporary, and it's a sort of junky fix thing, isn't it? You feel good for now, but after a while you're walking along and then you see somebody going by like that and you think, well, what I'm wearing now, suddenly it's turned to ashes. It's no longer good enough, And that's part of the fashion thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you don't want to be seen wearing yesterday's stuff.